What is up, everybody? We are back for what is it, the second episode of our summer series. Chris Jackson, Dylan Grouse, and as you guys can see in the background there, Monte Vista hat, the Monte Vista Zoom background. We got their head coach, Johnny Millard, who is entering, what is it now, year three at Monte Vista?
Year three. Yeah, year three.
Man, how has
It,
that whole thing been there? How have you enjoyed your time out there in Danville and Alamo?
yeah, it's been awesome. I couldn't be more fortunate. I mean, I have a really good support system around me with the administration, just the staff, the coaches I get to surround myself with, and most importantly, the kids. And it's been a build, and that's what we knew coming into it. We play in one of the most competitive leagues in California, and certainly Northern California. And I saw nothing but potential, 2.5 years ago, and I still see that, and I'm so proud of the kids and what our staff have done so far. And there's still a lot of growth to be had, and a lot of build. And I think for the best programs that we're trying to be, the build never stops. So it's an ongoing thing, and that's kind of the beauty of it. And that's what those are what you walk away and remember. And it's only partly the X's and O's. A lot of it's process oriented, and how do you tuck in a chair when you leave a room? How do you talk to somebody when they're coaching you? How do you treat your teammates or others around you? Like those stuff you see just so embedded in winning programs, and the character aspect. And luckily we have fantastic kids who have really bought in, and who are leading from the front now.
Yeah, when you first took over the team, what was the vision that you had for the program? You obviously was you came from another good team like Foothill. You had that experience, and then you had the chance to lead your own team. When you first came in, like, what did you want to implement and instill into that program?
I think it was a level of implement, and also just like continuing. Like the thing that attracted me about Monte Vista is just it had such rich tradition, just like Foothill where I was at previously. I mean, when I played for Sweeney, who implemented such a blue collar mentality, and there's a level of grit and work to that. But I've been raised and I've always thought like you can work really hard, but also enjoy it while you're doing it. And I think, and speaking to Bergman when I was interviewing, and he's become a mentor of mine, and I have conversations with him, and you hear about what kind of coach he was, and the history that he embedded, and things that Russie did. And it was teams that outworked others. And I think that's what we're becoming and trying to become, is outworking the guy next to us, and doing it for the guy you play next to. And again, I knew if we did things the right way, the talent, we had the talent to develop, and some of those big names that we have now. But to me, it's like, hey, give the kids a great experience, invest in them, like always invest in the kids first, and their well-being. And I'm not just talking about football, I'm just talking about their, again, their character, the things that we help shape, and the men that they become. I mean, we spend so much time with them. So I understand that that's a privilege, but more importantly, it's a responsibility. So you know it's long answer to a short question, but my vision was just a program with high character kids that work hard, play for each other, and leave this program with the right tools to be successful in life. And I think we're slowly getting there. I'm gonna give my son a bottle real quick. Sorry, guys.
You're all good. Millard is on father duties too. He's got what, two kids now? I want to say that coaching and full-time job, man. That's
Yeah,
freaking tough, man.
it's
That's
crazy.
hey, I might think I have some long days. I got nothing compared to that. I
Yeah.
will tell you that right now, man. Especially building a high school program from back kind of
I,
from
I wouldn't have it any other way.
no.
Yeah, and so I got little Ryan Millard here with me, helping Dad out today, and
Special
cleaning in
guest
the
star,
background, just tackling
special
stuff.
guest star
Special
on the
guest star.
podcast today.
That is
Yep,
right.
yep. Born right before Friday night this last year, before the Dale Sal game. So
Oh,
he's a little football baby.
That's awesome. I want to go back to that first day at Monte Vista too. I was going through our text the other day. I think you had what, seven JV kids show up to that first lift. What was the program like? What was everything like those first couple of days on the job?
Yeah, I mean, uh, it was somewhat what I expected. I mean, I think it wasn't just Monte Vista. There was a ton of you guys probably know this better than I do, and just the amount of coach you talk to. But it was a really interesting time post COVID and during COVID, and like a lot of programs took a hit, and sadly, a lot of kids took a hit mentally. And I think that just with the turnover of coaches, CJ took a great opportunity. Um, and just what happened with COVID, like we took a hit in a program and how many kids that we had out. And I don't hold that against anyone. Like I understood, and I knew it wasn't going to be a 1 year build. Like regardless of what our record was, and this is something that me and my AD were really aligned on. Regardless of what the record was, our first year, we could have been 0-10, or we could have been 10-0, and I don't think that defined who we were or what we were building. And so I think having that alignment with my AD was really important, in understanding that this is about a long-term thing and about where we can get back to. And yeah, I mean, walking in the weight room that day and I see, 7 kids in there, it's like, you know what, we're going to build with those 7 kids, and we're going to keep building around it. And we're going to be really positive about it. I think guys like Zach Strump, who was there and leading the charge, like he was one of those guys, and guys like Braden Turner and Julian McMahon came in that year. Like, I mean, there's a ton of them, and you know what, they led from the front, and they helped build. And that senior class last year, like, I mean, we took a giant jump from year 1 to year 2, and that's because they bought in. And I mean, the kids have to buy in, they have to believe you, and they have to see the vision. So I knew it was going to be a build, and I was excited about that. Like, you get to kind of make it your own. You get to put your footprint on it. You get to learn a lot along the way, which I definitely have. But it was, as little as our numbers were, it wasn't just us. Like, I knew a ton of programs are going through it, and was like, all right, well, how are we gonna build on this? And the kids we had were really committed, and it's gone a really positive direction since.
Yeah, and what has been the most rewarding part, would you say, so far, of just seeing what you've built kind of take form? Like, what has been the most rewarding part of this process for you?
I think seeing the kids start to lead from within, like when they start saying the message that you're thinking in certain situations, like whether it's a disciplinary thing or somebody showing up late or not showing up, like to see them hold the line of accountability, like the engine is quote unquote running, right? Like they get it, like they're bought in. And to see them, really apply themselves. Like I think, Chris, we were talking about some of the guys who have offers, and like that's great. Like I want our kids to go play college football, like, and I'm going to do everything I possibly can to help get them the exposure and in front of the right people. At the end of the day, though, they have to do it. Like they have to put in the work. They have to put in those goals. But what I can say about all, those kids who right now already have offers to play, and I think even ones on top of that have the opportunity, it's not above the team goals. And that's really important. Like, yes, they've set these individual goals for them to keep playing, but you think about like Braden Turner. I don't know if I've met anybody else that wants to win more than that kid. And like that's his North Star. Julian McMahon, you can't beat that kid in a workout. You know what I mean? Like he's committed, right? But he still leads the charge every single day because he knows what he wants to do. Like Kellen Ford stepping into a leadership role this year, not just on offense at tight end where he's getting recruited, but like on defense as well. And Dakota Dixon. I mean, we did college camps a couple weekends ago, and to see him like cheer on his teammates and bring this really really fun energy to his group, like that stuff is infectious. So as proud as I am of those kids for starting to achieve some of their goals individually, if they're not putting it above the team. And I think that's really important in the culture that we're trying to set, because no one kid is more important than the other. And those kids certainly don't act like it. And that's really important. I mean, there's whether you're a two-way starter in a Power 5 Division I player, or this is your first year of football, like you're of equal importance on this football team and in this program.
Yeah, and those teams with that amount of kids kind of going to the next level offers, right? I went through all the databases I could, 247 online. I mean, literally whatever. I might be missing a team or two, and I know there's going to be a few more teams that make this list, but just look at teams I know for a fact that have 5+ kids with offers at those levels. A De La Salle, a Folsom, an Archbishop Reardon, a Pittsburgh, a Sarah, and Monte Vista, right? So that's a Small list
Yeah.
to be on. Does that mean anything to you to kind of be
Um,
small number and be in that kind of list?
yeah, I mean, I'm really proud of the kid because again, like I want to help them with the exposure, but you have to really be about that life to be in that category and to get, to get an opportunity to play on Saturdays because it essentially becomes a full-time job. And with NIL, it basically is a full-time job. Um, but it just, I think it means that the kids are buying in. I mean, that doesn't define the success we're going to have or have. Like, obviously, we have some talented kids, but we still got to go deliver as a football team. And football's not an individual sport. But I am very proud of those kids, and I'm proud that they set a goal and that they are working every single day to do it, but while not sacrificing what it means to be a team football player. So yeah, it's great to be in that category, but this is, we want to be one of those schools that produces high caliber players. And that was the goal when we came in. And that's what we want to continue to do year over year. But, first and foremost, we want to produce high character young men.
And every kid, most kids will say they have those Division I dreams. They think they can be a D1 football player, but you've had a front row seat. Heck, you went Division I. Your father went Division I, and what did he do? He won a freaking huge NFL award in '89. You got
Yeah.
to coach with Kenny Olson, Brandon
Yeah.
Sousa, D1, Chris Lawson, who was at Foothill for 2 years now at Reardon. All these guys like McMahon, Ford, Dakota Dixon, Braden Turner. What makes a D1 kid a D1 kid? Well, it makes a college football kid a college football kid.
Yeah, and like obviously Division I is the highest level, but I've seen some incredible Division II, Division III JC. Like I think Connor Perez is one of the best football players I've ever coached, and he's
And he
playing.
came back from a crazy injury too.
Yeah, what does that say about a kid? Came back from an injury and is now successfully playing college football. Like it comes in all shapes and sizes, but I think if there's a common denominator is those kids were committed and they always led from the front. And something I try to tell them is like, if that's really what you want to do, like you have to understand that you're not just competing against guys in your league on your team, you're competing against guys in California. So like, are you outworking that guy, who's over, playing in Sacramento right now? Like, are you outworking the guy in Southern California who's also being recruited at your position? Like that's the standard you have to hold yourself to. I mean, I smile when you say Brandon Sousa because, like, if you saw that kid as a sophomore, I mean, I remember he told me he was like, "Coach, I really want to keep playing after this," and had like, not necessarily doubts, but he just wanted direction. Like, you were going to have to outwork every single person here, and you're going to have to change your nutrition. You're going to have to commit to the weight room. And he was all in. I mean, Kenny Olson had, really good guidance from his dad, obviously. So he kind of knew, but I mean, those kids are really hungry. And then, now you see is like Braden Breelove. Braden Breelove is, I mean, a really long, talented football player who's, has the opportunity to play at Cal Poly. Thomas Marquardt, like those guys were really hard workers. And it's such a simple thing that I think, like, no, it's not just about working hard, it's about working harder than anybody else around you. And like, that's the daily standard. And like, of course I'm going to push them. My coaches are going to push them, but it has to come from within, and it has to be something they self-manage.
Yeah, and you mentioned guys like Marquardt and Turner and Julian who work really hard. How important is it to have guys like that on a team, and and like what kind of impact do they have like around to the rest of the guys around them to help you guys do what you guys do?
I think it's how you set the tone every single day, right? And honestly, I personally don't think it has anything to do with their offer. I think it's just how they show up, because I've had guys who don't go play college football, but they're extremely good high school football players, and they set the tone and they make championship football teams. So, them, how they show up is really important. How they hold the tone is really important. You ask any high school football coach, really any coach, when your players are delivering the message is truly strong. And it's strong from end to end. And like, that's when you can really leave no stone uncovered, right? Like, if because you try to see everything as a head football coach. Like I try to have eyes in every single place, but your players do. So if I'm on this side of the weight room and then this guy's skipping a rep on the other side of the weight room, how is his teammate going to hold him accountable there? Because if he calls him out, it's probably not going to happen again. So like, that's the stuff that, like, we've really been trying to push. And I think the senior class is just doing a really, really fantastic job. I mean, it's been a fun off season. We've been going 4 days a week since I think it was like December 4th. And, we got back early and it was before Christmas break. And sometimes you think you're going to hear some grunts and moans and they're like, let's get to work. I mean, it wasn't necessarily the record we won last year, but there wasn't a game we didn't compete in a very high ranked schedule. And they saw how close we were to doing something pretty great. And so it was really good motivation for them.
Yeah, those close games, that schedule, right? Eball Mountain.
Yeah.
You guys play Amador Valley, a 1-score loss. Cal's a 1-score loss. Clayton Valley, a 4-point game. Now, what's that next step, and how do you guys take that next step as a program to now win those close battles? Because, there's probably going to be as many close battles in that league as any across the state.
Yeah, no doubt. You finish and you rise above the moment in adversity. And like, it's such a subjective thing, but it's really not when you break it down to like the minimal little things that make winning teams. Like, what are the players saying when we face adverse moments? Like, how are we keeping our cool when we get a touchdown call back for a holding call that was unnecessary? Things like that. Like, those are the key moments that we have to be the most disciplined. So I think they saw it firsthand of like, hey, we were that close, and there were just like these, not just one, but just a few different things that changes the course of the game, and we got to come out on top in those key moments. And that's been a big focus on us, is how do we finish as a football team. And it's been a great lesson for all of us.
Yeah, and what was a takeaway you had from last season that you guys are going to take and build off of and kind of use to build off of for this year coming up?
Yeah, I think I mean, again, I love that first class I had, but you see the jump that we had from year 1 to 2, where we had a little bit tougher time competing in the league that we were in again, like, we're in every single game, but still, like, there's games that we have to finish, and we have to finish better. So I think what it did is it instilled a confidence that we're right there. But more importantly, it instilled like a hungriness. Like, I mean, these kids are really hungry and just driven. So I think that the drive that it instilled, and like, hey, like, this is where, like, this is where we're supposed to be, and we got to go win these football games.
Yeah, some of those coaches.
It's the expectation, right? It's the expectation they set for that they have for themselves now. And you guys know this, like, when your expectations are high, like, that's when you can go achieve high things. But like, if I'm not expected to win, like, you're probably not going to live up to the challenge. So I think their expectations in themselves and their teammates, they're rising to the challenge.
Some of those coaches you have experience with, right? Playing for the legendary Sweeney at Foothill, all those wins, and some of the teams you got the most out of. Absolutely, pretty incredible. And a Hobner and his passion, what he's done there, coaching with him. Probably hard to find two people more passionate about doing the right thing than those two, right? What did you learn from those guys in your career, and how have they kind of just helped you mold into either you are the coach you are, the person you are?
Oh, everything. And that's the coolest part about this sport, is like how much of an impact that you get to have on kids. And I do it because of the impact that those guys had on me. And Sweeney, I mean, just one of the grittiest, toughest, guys I've ever known and played for. And it's no excuses. It's like, I don't care if you're bigger, faster, stronger than me. Like, I'm going to beat you. Like, at the end of the day, like, I'm going to win this fight. And that was his mentality. Like, I don't care how big, fast, or strong you are. I don't care how, like, small we might be, or that doesn't matter. Like, we're going to win this fight. Like, you still have to line up against us and fight. And that's what we're going to do. And that was just, I mean, that in alone just was so infectious. And then, Hobner's for him, it was just like, you have to compete. You have to compete. You have to love competing. You can't shy away from it. You have to run towards it. And I love that about playing for Hobner. I love seeing it and how he goes about his day to day. You run towards competing. You don't run away from it.
Yeah, and you have your dad on staff, who obviously, he's an experienced NFL guy. He's coached in the NFL. How does having him on staff help you as a coach, and just in general? Like, what's it like having him on staff with you, helping you out and helping, the team improve as well?
Yeah, I mean, the first part, I mean, you get to coach with your dad. Like, that's the coolest thing in the world. Like, I mean, besides all the X and those things to learn from him, like, I greatly value that time. And now that I have Clayton running around with us, so you get to be with Grandpa and be a part of that. Like, that's how I grew up. Like, I still remember days with me and my older brother were running around Menlo, absolutely unaccounted for, jumping off bags and running into players. And hanging out. Like I loved that. And it was like some of the best experience. And it was important for my dad to include his family and his profession and craft. And it's important for me to do that. So, to be around him every day is pretty cool. And then from a football standpoint, the ones close know this about my dad, and the ones that he's coached, he is one of the most detail oriented coaches I've ever met. Like it's from your first step to your movements to how you break down film. Like he does not leave any details unheard. And like, I think as a player, he had a really good reputation for having a high motor and being so quick off the football. But, but people I don't think give him credit for is the amount of film study and, how much of a technician he was. And he brings that into his craft as a coach. And, whether it's, and he has, there is no different level about my dad. And I smile about it because like, he's going to coach, he's going to coach Dakota Dixon same way he coached Warren Sapp. There's no difference, and he doesn't know how to do anything else. And I don't know if anybody else would want that. So you see him like get fired up in the passion, but it's because he cares about his players. And he'll get on you, but he'll be the first one to give you a big hug when you do the right thing and you play the game the right way.
And if you read the story about Keith Millard and how he got to where he freaking did, right? The 89 NFL Player of the Year, from his high school days to college to everything else, right? It's pretty freaking crazy, pretty freaking remarkable how he overcame some stuff to get to that point, man. So what are those biggest lessons that you've just learned from him and from your father to get to this point?
Yeah. He did. He really did. And I'm so proud of him for that. And not just the football stuff, but, my dad has 6 kids and he's a great father and he loves us and he's a great grandpa. And that, to him, that's the most important thing. And, he's done some really good stuff on the football field as a player and coach. I have this quote up to your question, Chris. I have this quote up in my garage, and it's like a newspaper article. And the quote that he says was, I never went through life expecting anybody to do anything for me. I was going to go get it myself. And I think that's just so powerful. Like when in doubt, you lean on yourself and you go get it. Like you don't rely on somebody else to go do the work for you. You don't expect it. Like you go get it yourself. And I love that. And I think that's such a great thing to live by.
How special was that to coach your brother at Foothill?
Oh, it was so cool. It was a blessing because when I was done playing, like I really missed coaching. And so my first experience, I got to coach my brother's PJFL team, which was a humbling experience, but it was very fun. And same thing, like, Tate is such a great young man, and he's, not just on the football field, but off. So to get to be around him was pretty cool. And I prided myself in like, I coached because I love coaching. I didn't coach because my brother played. I always thought it was just a blessing of an intersection that we got to share that together. And that made, to an extent, it made leaving Foothill hard his senior year. But at the same time, he's playing for the guys who coached me. Like he couldn't have been in better hands that people I love and trust. So it was the right time. And it was cool to watch him from the sideline and to watch him on film. I still wish we could have got to play each other, but the fate didn't have it that way. It would have been an odd Thanksgiving. But it was really special. It was a blessing.
You've talked about too, high school being your sweet spot. Some people are sweet spots college. Some people it's the professional ranks. You've said before, high school was that sweet spot. Why?
Oh man. I think it's such an impactful time in kids' lives, and to be a part of that is really important to me. And there's something about coaching, near or around your hometown and like in a rooted place. And not that you don't get that in college and NFL, but it's a little bit more volatile and a lot more movement occurs. And I've seen that, as a family member, and to be able to be somewhere and be rooted with my family is really important, and within the community. So it's just, trust me, it can be enticing, to think about going and coaching in college. And like, I have some really, really incredible friends that do that, and they're loving it and they're doing a great job. And, it's a great career path, but I really feel fortunate about where I'm at. And, what I get to do every day. It's because it's not just a football, it's everything else that surrounds it. You find that Friday nights ends up being a byproduct of what you're doing every day.
And just overall coaching, what's that one thing of coaching that makes you realize like why you do it? Like what's that one moment, or those moments in general about coaching that really make you that really remind you that you love doing it?
This is the impact, like I think about, like, again, it's not just, I think about that moment Braden got his first offer. Like that was, you see a kid work so hard. It's like, it's hard not to get like choked up thinking about that. Right. And then I think about, Ben Meineke, working to be a firefighter, or, you see these kids on the street, and like, it's just those interactions, you get those interactions, and you're doing something that's bigger than any of us. Like that's the best thing about football that I think correlates to life. Like it's not about you, it's about everything around it. And, it's just, it's like one of the purest things in life, I think. And that's what I love about the game. And I feel fortunate I get to be around it every day.
Being able to coach at Monte Vista back in the day, play against them, compete against them. Why does that program have so much history?
The people who have been involved, like, good people, surround yourself and attract good people. And I think Bergman is just an incredible human being, and he attracted other incredible human beings, both in coaches and players. And it's funny. Like I think about at the Granada game last year, like both Bergman and Sweeney were on our sideline and just talking. Like you talk about some heated rivalries, like games I've been a part of. I think about like the game versus, Zach Ertz, Drew Nottingham, Tom Hemmingson, like just guys who all went out and played who were just absolutely legends here. You think about, Kyle Wright, you think about Drew McAllister, I mean, so many, right? And it's just, but it's about the respect and just again, I see those two just talking like they're just old buddies, and it's just like, it's almost funny to think about, like those two literally were going head to head and some of the best games in the East Bay, Northern California, and just like they couldn't have more respect for each other. So, I just, to see that, I'm like, man, this is a place that is aligned with my values and aligned with, what I want to be a part of. And it's absolutely been true.
Now, what's a loss in your coaching career, playing career you're never going to get over? And what's a win that you'll also really never forget?
Oh man. I think a loss is JV football against Amador my first year. Last play of the game, they threw a dig route and the guy took it to the house for the win, literally 1 second to go. That one still hurt. I think wins wise, there's a lot. I think of my first year, the win versus Amador on homecoming night, like just, really good team, great players. I mean, Danny Jones is the best of the best. And, we were able to just like really pull something together and kind of get through some adversity to do that. I think the win versus Bellarmine last year was just, you talk about a really great program, and, our kids just playing really tough nosed football was awesome. So those are some that stick as a, as a player, always beating your crosstown rival, or those always stick with you for a long time.
Let's get to some fun questions before we let you go. First thing we always ask, favorite home cooked meal, and it can just, and also on top of that, favorite restaurant, and that can be anywhere on earth.
Oh, man. I'm very fortunate and blessed that my wife is a great, amazing cook. So pretty much anything that she makes is always just A plus. She makes a great marry me chicken. She makes a great like stir fry with noodles. I'm getting hungry thinking about it. Anything she brings, and she loves to bake. She makes her specialty is these peanut butter Rice Krispie balls. I've literally never seen them before, but she's kind of perfected it. Oh, favorite restaurant. I mean, Ruth Chris. If you're pulling the wallet out, yeah, I'm a big Ruth Chris guy on the steaks, and then fast food. You can't beat In-N-Out, and anybody who says otherwise, I just don't want to have a conversation with.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, what about favorite TV show? It can be, let's do current and let's do just all time.
Oh, well, Disney Plus is on the screen a lot for Dad of Two now. I like Friday Night Lights. That's always a good one for any football coach. Um, and let me think about this. It's been a while since I've watched a good Game of Thrones. I mean, you gotta love Game of Thrones. HBO is always making good shows. Um, I will say favorite movie though is Hell or High Water. Really good about two brothers, bank robbers in Texas. Um, Pretty good story.
Who's your favorite
That's a
character
good
on
one.
Friday Night Lights?
Oh man, gotta love Reagan's. I mean, the 30-year-old, 15-year-old. Gotta love his character arc. It always
Definitely.
cracks me up looking at that. I'm like, man, I've been around a lot of 14 to 18-year-olds, and I can confidently say that none of these people playing these characters are that age group.
Not at all. And then
Uh,
last thing, best marriage advice.
oh man, just keep dating, and you just yeah, that's a good one. Keep dating, and have fun. Uh, and just be there for each other, and be their biggest fan in the best moments, and be their biggest shoulder in the tough ones. And it's I got lucky with a good one. She's the athlete in the relationship, and got a big heart. And you ask any football coach, you got to have a great and just dedicated wife to be able to do kind of this profession. And I'm really fortunate to have one. So got to do flowers once a month at least.
That's perfect. I love that right there. You're the man,
Yeah.
Johnny. Appreciate Coach Johnny Millard from Monte Vista hopping on. Their first game is coming up in a little less than 2 months. What is that? August 30th against Granada. This time they go to your place.
Yeah, home game against Granada, so it'll be a good one. I know Brandon Black's building a good thing over there, and those guys are always big and present a challenge. So it'll be a fun way to start off the year.
Brandon Black looks like he can still play a little bit too.
Oh yeah.
That guy's yacked up.
Yeah, that's one strong freaking dude.
Yeah, no doubt. You could probably put some shoulder pads on. Be all
Right.
right.
Hey, well, yeah, appreciate Johnny Millard for coming on. This podcast will be up everywhere, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, everything else. And we'll have another guest soon next week. But until then, everybody take care and stay safe. And we'll see you all very, very soon.